आर्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Hari Om. I know all of you are very excited for your presentations. So the background of that we will complete and then the presentation we will start. So last class we saw about what is religion. Before that we saw the four ages: age of observation, then age of gazing, age of observation, age of inquiry, age of contemplation. Then we saw about religion. Religion is that which helps us to turn within, realize the self. So the age of contemplation is what actually religion comes into. So the equation that we saw was religion is equal to philosophy plus ritual. It is a subjective science, which is a philosophy, plus the application of it, which is the rituals. By rituals, we don't mean only puja part. Rituals means an application-oriented approach. For what I have learned, that I am able to apply. The philosophy applied in daily life through certain practices, that is the ritual part. So one point in that is when we come to that ritual part, there is an aspect of self-control in that. Because it is a training of our own mind, our own senses, our own body. So when we say, let us say upvas. So upvas, Ekadashi Vrat is a ritual. Now it is training the body, mind, intellect. It is making our senses to be controlled, not to indulge in the world of sense objects, and turn within, be closer to the Lord. So there is sense control. If we, let us say, do a puja, then also we are focusing the mind only on the Lord, not allowing the mind to go out anywhere else. Any ritual if we take, there is an amount of sense control, mind control inbuilt in that. But generally human mind is extrovert and it wants to enjoy in the world outside. So what one feels is religion, if I practice, it will lead to suppression. And there are some people who say, no, that's why I won't practice religion, I will just enjoy. So some who will do with tremendous willpower, without understanding, so they will just suppress their desires. And there will be some who will not have any control, go on the other extreme. What does actually religion tell us? It doesn't tell us to do either, neither complete indulgence and draining ourselves, nor complete suppression. But what we had discussed in the earlier class is the sublimation part. When I understand the higher purpose, that why this is being done, and which is why that ritual is a expression of the philosophy. Once I understand the philosophy, this is what it is, that happiness is my nature, why am I dependent on things, how miserable that makes me. The philosophy part, when it is understood, now how do I realize that as my nature? Right now, because this BMI are not in control, I am a slave of the BMI. So now these rituals, etc., help me to train the BMI. Now with this higher understanding, when it is done, one will find more joy in the practice also. Much more the mind remains focused in that. And one will not go into these two extremes. Plus philosophy, one doesn't understand it only as a dry subject, but one sees the benefit it gives me in my daily life and how it transforms my vision. So religion is that which helps me to sublimate the lower, attach myself to the higher, integrate the body, mind and intellect. Yesterday was the Yoga Day, International Yoga Day. Purpose of yoga is to align body, mind, intellect, so that one unites with the absolute self. So now this much part is about what is religion and how religion actually doesn't advocate suppression or uncontrolled indulgence. It advocates sublimation. Now this sublimation is applied in every aspect of life. If you see a student who wants to really, succeed and get a certain percentage in certain exams will have to sublimate a lot of their desires, because their goal is, I must crack this, whatever, IIT entrance or any CAT or GMAT or any such thing. So the sublimation. An army soldier sublimates. So that sublimation is a very, very important aspect. Religion is that which helps us to do that. Now the next portion of this chapter goes on to speak about what is the most essential factor for a development of a nation. So while economics, science, technology, infrastructure, so many of these one can develop and one must develop, one of the most important things that is required is what are the values that the person, the individuals in that nation, they entertain. And that value system comes through education. And the higher values that we just saw about sublimation, etc., they come through the spiritual knowledge. So if you read the book Ignited Minds, in that Dr. Kalam, he mentioned the first point to transform a developing nation to a developed nation is integrate spirituality with education. See, spiritual people saying that is understandable, but he is a scientist, a teacher, a person who has, he was one of the best presidents of our country. When such a person says, and he used to read the scriptural literature, he used to read not only the Quran but also the Bhagavad Gita and other books, Tirukkural, many things he used to read. So very, very rooted, grounded in spiritual knowledge. So he said that if we have to transform the nation, we have to transform the mindset of people to have higher values of life. Nation above self, if that feeling has to come, then only they will come forward to work for the nation. Otherwise, each one is working for themselves, at the maximum their own family. That's all. How will they work together? One is the value has to be there for it, that this is my country. So the value of gratitude, the value of giving back, the value of selflessness, the value of putting others before us, those things, honesty, integrity, all these values, they come when there is a grounding in spiritual knowledge. So along with all the development externally, what is a very crucial factor? There are two very important factors mentioned in this part of the chapter. One is the spiritual values and the grounding. So the earlier we introduce this in the education, earlier we introduce this to our children through other means. Unfortunately today, this part is being removed in the name of secularism. And if we try to reintroduce it, one is saying this is saffronization of education. How is that saffronization? If in our country people learn about our culture and that which helps me to become proud. You teach your culture, your religion, your values to your people of a different religion if they are. At the same time, there can be a spiritual education class where each person of each religion learns about their systems and their values. Why is it not introduced at all? So if people are grounded in spiritual values and that becomes a way of life. Today we are saying we are spiritual, not religious. So now we are wanting to only understand a philosophy but not apply it. Which is why there is so much of confusion also, that there is so much of knowledge in this country but still application is not there because I don't want to follow those techniques. And I am following it after it comes back from the West. Fasting, Ekadashi Vrat, our grandparents, our great grandparents, they used to do consistently or not. We said, no, no, what is this Ekadashi fasting, this, that. And now this intermittent fasting, detoxification of the body, all some high funda words and so-called scientific things will come into it. So then everybody say, what are you doing? I'm on intermittent fasting. Jain people do intermittent fasting daily. It is their normal way of life. Yeah, after sunset they will not drink water also sometimes. Till the sunrise. 12 hours to ho gaya aise hi. But now it is a fashion. So now everybody doing intermittent fasting. Not that one should not apply anything which is modern, but grounding is not there in our spiritual practices. In the name of religion, avoiding all that. I'm telling you, every single person, no, in a few months' time or years' time, they will all start doing, keep the idol, do the japa, everything they will do. Why? Because this will be brought to us from the West saying this is a technique of neurosculpting. Train your brain to hold on to one object, leave all the other. We are already teaching and doing that in our culture for thousands of years. Ishta Devata, Upasana and everything. Already they started doing that with objects. Hold a triangle in your head, red color triangle in your head for as much as time you can. And then note down how much time you held it for. And increase your duration. So that's how you increase your, it is called basic object retention power. Some terms, basic object retention power. Now we have the whole form of, let us say, Krishna Bhagavan, the whole form we have to imagine. One triangle is what? That will be in one mukut of his, one round money will be there. The rest of the body, so many things are there. Everything you have to hold in the mind. So very basic object. This is complex object retention, which is much more advanced than what you are teaching. But no, this is idol, this is religion, all kinds of things which are fed into our head by people who have vested agenda, we will repeat. And the same fellows, after they change sometime, we will repeat what they say again. So the point is spiritual knowledge plus the practical application, then the human being is trained well. So that is a very important of a component of a nation building. And in our country, what is the core competency of this country? Is this spiritual knowledge? People from across the world come into India for what? For spiritual knowledge. Rest of the things, okay, today they may come for setting up their business because now for them it's a big market and all that. But if you see centuries together, people who have come into India, either they have come to take away our prosperity or they have come searching for spiritual knowledge. And the spiritual knowledge was the basis why we discovered that much prosperity also. So when we say nation building, value system and living a higher way of life is the most crucial aspect. Our children must know that part much before anything else that they learn. I don't know if I shared with you and I don't know how true it is, but I was told that in Japan, the first thing the child learns to speak, the first word the child learns to speak is Japan. So from childhood, that bhav of nation building and nation above self is inculcated. That a person feels very strongly, this is my country, I have to give back. And they live in that sense of, giving back. So first aspect is the spiritual knowledge. Then the second aspect is, Gurudev used to say that a geographical area where a population survives is called as a country. But a geographical area where a people live is called as a nation. What is the difference between country and a nation?
Nation is culture, traditions, and all their laws.
Right. So nation is culture, tradition, values. One more thing. They feel one. There is a common goal which unites everybody. Population is each one living only for themselves, managing to survive or even prosper. But a nation is where there's a common goal that this is what we are striving for. So when we wanted freedom for the country, the entire nation came together. Right now we had India-Pakistan match. Full nation. All over the world, all the Indians and everybody rooting for India. Because one common thing. Swachh Bharat. And everybody working together to keep the country clean. So one common goal is very crucial. That what will bind us. I will send you one link where Gurudev spoke about this in his talk about our country, India. And he spoke about these goals and how one goal should be there. At that time in 90s when he spoke, that time he gave this example. Let us say cleanliness. That all of us decide that we must keep our country clean. And he took that cleanliness to the next level also, saying not only at the physical level we will maintain cleanliness, but also morally we will be clean. Root out corruption. Live the higher way of life. So it's a very nice talk, a 15-minute or 20-minute talk it is. So I will put that link, you can watch that. So the idea is, what is that which unites us as a country? And this has to be applicable at every stage in life. As a family, what is that which binds us? Along with love and various values that we follow, what is a common goal that everybody strives together? Because once there is a common goal, each one gives their own might, their own contribution to it, and the benefit of it is reaped by everybody. That from our Vedic culture, that is a concept of yajna. In a yajna, everyone comes together giving whatever best they can for a common purpose, selflessly sinking all their differences, and then the result which comes is the benefit of everybody. So this kind of uh, harmony or synchronization between the various individuals, so irrespective of caste, community, creed, gender, what is it that unites us? For the country, there should be one goal, minimum one goal. You can have more if one wants. And for culture, if you think about it, what is that which binds this entire country together is the Vedic culture. Shivji is worshipped in the north also, and in the south also, east also, west also. So many festivals are celebrated across the whole country. So many such things, if we see, what unites us is the culture, the Sanatan Dharma. So we need some integrating factor. A nation that does not have an integrating factor gets destroyed. So the next part of this chapter goes on to the culture part. So what exactly is culture? And how is it connected to religion? Generally, we use sometimes interchangeably also, religion, culture. Correct. And religion? Correct. So do you call it, because religion also definition is what? Philosophy plus ritual. So practices are there in religion also. What is the connection of religion and culture? Huh? That is history.
Religion is teaching us ways of life.
Okay.
What we read and what we are following the faith. That depicts on our culture. That shows on our culture also.
So religion has the influence on the culture. From religion we get culture. So that is the point. We have to understand that religion is the bigger view of life plus way of life, and that has an influence on how we live. So Gurudev defines culture in this way. You see, that definition is a very nice one. A set of people, one is it has to be a set of people, then living for a long period of time in a specific geographical area and respecting certain philosophical values and virtues of life. They acquire certain traits and characteristics which is called as the culture. So when a group of people living together in a geographical area, following certain values and virtues, the fragrance of their life is called culture. Where did these values and virtues come from? Religion. One can say, no, without religion also I can have values. Nobody denies it. You can have values even without religion. But the higher way of life, in terms of sublimating the ego, realizing the absolute, that comes from religion. You may call it something else if you want, but it will all come back to the same thing. One exercise you can do if you want. Try to start a new religion. You say all these religions, no, they are all. I want to live without religion at all and realize the absolute. Supreme happiness I want. Now put down what will you call it as, what are these principles of life that you want to follow to experience happiness without belonging to any religion. Try writing down the code of conduct or the way of living, the values of life, the practical techniques, how will you do it? You will do that exercise. It's superb.
It has to be based on something.
Based on what you understand. It need not have a spiritual, scriptural basis of any existing religion. New age, what you call, not religion, new age cult or philosophy, let us say.
Yeah.
Correct. What happened after that? He said no religion, no guru, no God, nothing. No ritual, nothing. J. Krishnamurti, one philosopher.
Why was he done that?
Yeah, but if you see, so Baha'i temple is there.
Yeah, they have a base.
Base is there now. J. Krishnamurti, when he did that, today the followers of J. Krishnamurti are called JKites. JKites. There is a circle, study circle. They don't revere him as a guru in terms of how we formally would call a guru, but they adore him or not. So it is just that if we try something new, it will come back to the same thing again. Because this is time-tested values, time-tested techniques. One may reject the deterioration that has come into it. That is 100% should to be done. One need not accept everything given there, especially when it deteriorates through time. But if one says, no, none of this I want, okay, please start something new, no problem. You will see that ultimately it will come to this eternal values only. Same thing it will come back to. So culture is this. What are these four? Group of people living together in a specific geographical area for a long period of time, following certain values and virtues. Then that fragrance of their life, which manifests through their speaking, their eating, talking, behaving with each other, interpersonal relationships, all that becomes the culture. So the most important ingredient in this definition of culture is what? Values and virtues. And it is these values and virtues which make the difference in cultures across the world. Why are cultures across the world different from each other? Even in our country, we say Sanatan Dharma, one culture. But if you take culture of every state, very different. Why is a culture different from one state to the other? Because these values and virtues differ. What one values at one particular point in time, the other person may not value at that point in time. See, we are not talking only about universal values. Universal values itself, there is a difference in understanding. Honesty, integrity, non-violence, what we saw, Satyam, Ahimsa and Brahmacharya. In that itself, there will be differences of opinion. Then it will manifest. So if we say non-violence, their understanding of non-violence will be very different. They would say to eat a fish or to eat a egg or to eat any other animal is a normal way of life for one culture. For some others who would have thought through it, they would say, no, we have to respect all life. So then they will follow vegetarianism. Now the understanding of the value and its application is different. So the cultures across the world are different. And this culture is what goes through decadence also by time. What is the meaning of decadence of a culture? When the higher ways of life we are not able to follow because we don't have enough sense control, or we fall for immediate gratification, or we have less amount of integrity and single pointedness, then I live more at the body level. To enjoy at the body level, the satisfaction of the body, the comfort that I need, that is the most important priority. Then we fall from the higher values of life by compromising. So over a period of time, what happens? That culture which doesn't hold on to the majority in that culture, when they don't hold on to the higher values of life, that culture declines. And this battle continuously goes on between the indulgent mindset and the mindset of spiritual life. So we say two types of culture, Bhautik Samskriti and Adhyatmik Samskriti. Materialistic culture and spiritual culture. Now when we say materialistic culture and spiritual culture, this is not to brand any country or any such thing. Because the moment we say materialistic, what people think? Western culture. And the moment we say spiritual, they think Eastern culture. But this branding is not required. Because materialistic tendencies are there throughout the world, in everyone. And dormant spiritual latent tendencies are also there in everyone. It only depends on what is being invoked, where and how. So wherever spiritual culture is invoked, there will be much more higher standard of life as well as living. But when the material tendencies which make me crave more at the sensory level, they dominate, then I don't care about higher values of life, sacrifice, selflessness, honesty. I compromise because quick buck, immediate satisfaction. Why should I follow anything higher? That leads to the deterioration of the culture. And whenever that culture is deteriorating, if somebody doesn't come up to restore that culture, what will happen to that culture? It will get extinct. Again, remember, culture getting extinct means the higher values of life becoming extinct. And so then the consequent application also becoming extinct. Greek culture, Mayan culture, Roman culture, Mesopotamian culture, Egyptian culture, so many cultures across the world are where today? They are in the museums. They were glorious culture at their times. People lived, prospered, flourished, and these cultures were at the peak. And slowly what happened? decline happened? Because the mindset of people changes through time. And if culture doesn't adapt to that, or culture is not able to keep them inspired to live the higher way of life, that culture will become irrelevant, outdated, and ultimately it will perish. Time to time, such great people have come in our country where they have re-established the culture. These are the sages and the saints and people who have committed themselves for this work. They may be even grahasthas, doesn't matter. Like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is a grahasthi. So whoever it is, there are masters, whether sadhus, sannyasis, grahasthis, people who have committed themselves to revival of the culture, the higher way of living, who have given a direction to the human being who has lost the vision of higher way of life. Such great masters, they are the people whom we call as revivers of our culture, cultural revivalists. They are leaders in their own right, who have inspired masses and who continue to inspire the masses generation after generation because of the way they lived and the way they revived this whole culture. So in that context is what we are seeing the different groups, all of you. Each person is a great master who has contributed to the revival of the culture. Now, revival of the culture means what? Reviving the higher values of life. How that is applied in today's age can be modern application, adaptation. A culture which is not adaptable to the changes, that culture will perish. Now, what is adaptability? One thing we should remember, core principles remaining the same, adaptation is in the external application. The core principle remains the same, that cannot change. But the adaptation is outside. Like the example that we give is, in the earlier days, the Vedic times, the rituals in terms of yajna and havan, etc., were very elaborate. And some people used to do it even on a daily basis. Like Agnihotra is done on a daily basis. Today's age, the Vedic altars, the Vedic havans, the rituals, they have changed. We are not following them anymore. That Vedic era of rituals, rites, havans, yajna, yaga got substituted with Ishtadevata's upasana. Have the form, do the meditation, do the japa, do the chanting. Not that the form, etc. was not there before. That was also there. But over a period of time when people found it more difficult, challenging, one has adapted. So that way the culture learns to adapt. The values remaining the same. They will bring other methods of integrating the society. So that was one example of adaptation. Another example of adaptation could be how the language also, Sanskrit as a Vedic Sanskrit language and today's Sanskrit, there's a lot of change. It has become more easier nowadays to understand and learn Sanskrit. Vedic Sanskrit was much more tougher. So as people change, as they find it difficult, the culture comes about. There are great people who come about to adapt it, to make it easier and applicable. Like if we have to study the Upanishad by ourselves, which many people attempt today, take the Gita, take the Upanishad, read, one will not understand, one will not grasp the essence, one will get even frustrated sometimes. So what did these great masters do? They wrote books, Tattvabodh, Atmabodh, Bhadagovindam, all these, so that the knowledge which is there becomes easy to understand for us. That's how they revive the culture. And people like Vedavyasji adapted the Vedic concept of yajna to mean teamwork in the Gita. So that's a very beautiful adaptation, that how Yajna means a teamwork. So the spirit of yajna, if I maintain, now this spirit of yajna I can apply in my corporate world, I can apply in my family, I can apply in my, social life everywhere. So that's called adaptation. So this is where the chapter ends by the examples of those people who have come about to revive this culture, and we celebrate the life of all these great people through the Guru Purnima day. It is actually the birthday of Vedavyas ji, but on that day we give the entire thing of our gratitude to all these great masters. So more of it we will see now as each of the groups come forward and they present. We will start with the order in which we spoke in terms of the chronological order of history, which is the group 2 is what? Who is the master? Buddha. Okay. Because it would be good to come by chronology. So 1 minute, I'll come down then.
Hari Om, everybody. This is group 1, and we have been given the topic of Maharishi Vedvyas ji, and we are starting with our presentation. Initially, we are starting with one Doha, and we'll sing it together.
Guru Gobind dono khade, kaake lago pai, balihari Guru apno, Govind kyo milai.
Dear friends, this was the famous.
Hello.
Yeah. Dear friends, this was the famous Doha of Sant Kabir Das ji, in which he says that Guru is even greater than God. He says that if my Guru and God both are in front of me, whom shall I worship? Whom shall I first greet? Kabir Das ji says that it is only because of my Guru's teachings and blessings that I am able to see and reach my God. So surely, first I will greet my Guru and then God.
The gratitude that the world owes to Vedvyasa is immense because he has compiled the 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samaveda and Atharva Veda. For this great contribution, he has earned the title of Vedvyasa. Vedvyasa ji is the grandfather of Pandavas and Kauravas, and he has outlived both the main characters of this dynasty and was witness to the entire war of Mahabharata. He was advised by God Brahmaji to compile the Mahabharata.
Now I'll speak about the few contributions made by Maharishi Vedvyas ji. Sanatan Dharma, which is also popularly known as Hinduism, owes its regeneration and its buoyancy to sage Vedvyas ji, who codified its primary scriptures, the Vedas, for preserving Dharma. He then laid stress on handing over this knowledge from one generation to the other. This was done from a guru to his disciple and from father to his son. Vedvyas ji also wrote the great epic known as Bhagavad Gita, which is the direct dialogue of our Guru Krishna to Arjun in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which till today is used extensively by the human beings to lead a life of dharma and attain moksha. Vedvyas ji also was advised by Narad Muni ji that since Vedas were too complex And the ordinary person, always in the life of self-gratification, may not be able to fully understand and comply with the teachings of Vedas. And accordingly, Vedvyasji should then compose and write about the manifested life of our God Krishna. Vedvyasji then wrote about the birth and manifested glories of our Krishna, which is known as Shrimad Bhagavatam. It is believed that in Kali Yuga, by just even listening, reading Shrimad Bhagavatam, an ordinary person can get salvation and find moksha from his earthly life and avoid the vicious circle of births and rebirths. In addition to the many other works which have been compiled and authored by Vedvyasji, he has been also very gracious and done the great work of also writing Puranas, which also tell us about the common stories and glorification of our great masters, which today enrich our life and help us to reach our further goal of life, that is leading a life of dharma and moksha.
So, as Swamiji right now in the lecture also pointed out, the Guru Shishya tradition of protection of Indian culture. Hello, is it fine? The Guru Shishya tradition of protection of Indian culture was introduced by Vedvyasa ji in our country, and in this the Gurukul system was slowly developed in our country. Here the sons of both the kings and the common man go to their guru, respective guru, which is known as ashram. The disciples stay with the guru and live a simple life. They serve their guru and consider the guru as deity. These disciples not only learn what the guru teaches, but they also learn how the humility and dignity, how to live the life, simple life. Disciples attain knowledge by observing the life of a guru and experience the truth. So to celebrate the Guru Shishya tradition in our country, on the birthday of Guru Sri Vedvyasa ji, every year we celebrate Guru Purnima. This festival is celebrated by both Hindus and Buddhists, and it is usually celebrated on the full moon day of Hindu calendar of Asad, which this year it is coming on July 13th, approximately 16th. And on that day, all the devotees celebrate their Guru for giving them enlightenment.
And our Puja Guru Chinmaya ji founded and established Chinmaya Mission with its ethos drawn from Guru Shishya culture. And this educational tradition has been adopted and exemplified in our Chinmaya Mission all over the world, which truly epitomizes the teaching of Gurukul way of life. And I'm very proud that my daughter was studying in Chinmaya International School, and I know what we have gained through that. And a little interesting present day examples. A mathematician, Anand Kumar, I think many of us know about him, founder of Super 30 educational program, was honored by Maharishi Vedvyas Award, National Award, for his contribution in the field of education. And he was given this award by the CM of Madhya Pradesh. This award was also given annually by state government for his outstanding work, which was shown in KBC program by our Mr. Amitabh Bachchan. And now a little interesting for our new generation, connect to this, for our children to understand this, Maharishi Vedvyas Awardee, a Hindi movie has been made. The protagonist Anand Kumar's role it will be portrayed by actor Hrithik Roshan. And this movie, Super 30, is scheduled to be released in coming July, so that our children learn from this. Yeah. Thank you.
And can somebody guess this movie? Yeah, so it's a fantastic movie, and here are the characters: Ishan and his guru Amir Khan, known as Ram in this movie. Ishan was a dyslexic child in this movie, could not read, write, had some problems in living daily life. And I think he was sent to boarding school where he found his art teacher, Amir Khan, and he turned him around completely to different ways of method. So here we are saying that we all are like Ishan right now, frankly, in our daily life, if we don't know the purpose of goal, why I'm living this life, what I'm doing, and why we are doing this, and our relationship. So we thank our Guru, Sri Swatananji, to show us, and to Guruji also, to show us our life. Yeah. Thank you, Swami. Thank you for listening to us. From Team 1, this is Simi ji, Vinod ji, Alka ji, and myself, Premal.
So wonderful, very nicely presented. If Vedavyasji was not there, with the kind of memory that people had, we would have lost the Vedas. Think about it. Today we need calculator to calculate 13 into 17. And earlier the entire Veda was remembered in the mind. So a lot of gratitude to him, because without him this culture we would have lost. As it is, we have lost. What Vedic knowledge is available is only 10%. Okay, so the second group. Now what is important is all the group members, please hold the mic this close. Because what happens is those who are in the webinar, if the sound doesn't go into the mic, for them it's a blank. They can't hear anything. They will only see you doing. Okay. So keep it this way. This is a unidirectional mic. So if you speak like this, it will not work. The sound has to go inside. Now we should know the context, why we are going in this sequential order. The Vedic religion, when it declined, a lot of false practices came into it. Then Buddha came.
Hariom, good morning. We are team 2. We are going to be talking about Buddha. So we are starting with Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. This team is represented by 4 of us, Vaishali, Sonal,
Naindra,
and Nihar. So we're just basically introducing. So what started was Buddha was around 550, 560 was when Buddha was born. And he was born in Kapilavastu as a prince. So BC. So BCE actually, yeah. So in Kapilavastu, and when he was born, there was a prophecy made that he will either be a great king, great emperor, or a great sage. And so his father made sure that he lives in the palace during his entire youth and goes through luxury of life. And during his youth, when he became a young man, he went out on a chariot ride, and there he saw a lot of suffering. And during that suffering, he started questioning about suffering. And that kind of made him really unstable, and he started thinking a lot about that. And that quest of finding about suffering made him renounce his life, and he went across the country studying at roughly 180 different schools, studying under various teachers, learning various scriptures, yoga practices, everything. And he started getting dejected in life about not learning anything. In spite of doing all these things, he didn't learn anything. And so he went to Bodh Gaya, and that's where the famous Bodhi tree is. And that's where he sat for meditation, and he got the answers and the enlightenment. And basically how he got after he got the enlightenment, he removed a lot of the core, as Swamiji just told us also, that the core of the scriptures remained the same, but he started a new thought process by removing some of the wrongs which were there around that time, which was the caste creed and the animal killing. And he started his own practice called Buddhism now, which is very popular now. Now Vaishali will talk about the universal truths.
So during his enlightenment, Buddha found answers to three universal truths, and that he tried to imbibe them in his teachings. The first one being that nothing is lost in the universe. So according to this principle, he tried to highlight that whatever we do in our lives will always come back to us. For example, if we try to destroy something, that destruction will ultimately destroy us. And for example, if we lie to somebody, that lie in some form or the other will come back to us. So like just a small example, if you try messing up with your spouse, you'll get the same feeling back. And not only that, if you try to mess up with your wife, you don't know what is in store for you. Then the second universal truth that he wants to highlight is that everything is changing. For example, like a river flowing may always change its path as and when it gets its course and free path. So basically, nothing remains the same. So for example, it's always said that till the time you're not married, people around you will tell you that you're completely incomplete right now. But when one marries, they realize that, I mean, I'm totally finished after marriage. So that's what the change is all about. You completely go through a topsy-turvy change. The third universal truth that he highlights is the law of cause and effect. You generally get what you do in your life. That's what we all know, and that's what we are all taught in our life. So the seed that you sow will always reap you that kind of result.
So the first and the third one are actually different.
Yes.
Because in the interpretation, otherwise we can interpret the first one
Also that way.
We destroy something, we destroy ourselves.
Yes. So, for example, now with this urbanization happening, we're trying to cut down our trees and our natural environment. But so due to that, we feel that we are totally modernized and our lifestyle is getting more comfortable. But in the long run, we are not realizing that we've already invited global warming, and a lot of other problems are in store for us. So basically, the law of karma works in all walks of life. Now we are depicting a small skit to highlight the Four Noble Truths.
I have lost my son. Can someone help me? How can I revive him? I have lost my son. Do you have any medicines or herbs that can get him back to life? Please help.
I can suggest you somebody whom you can go to. You can go to the master, the Buddha. He has answers to all your questions.
Thank you so much for guiding. I have lost my son. Almighty Buddha, people have asked me to come to you, saying you are the only person who will help me to get my son back. Please help. Don't let me down.
My child, I can help you. My child, I can help you. But first you must go to any houses to get a mustard seed. But you can get only from that houses where the death has not occurred.
Surely, but you will be able to get my son back.
Yes.
Can I get some mustard seeds from your house? But the condition is there should not be death in your house. Oh, oh. Can I get some mustard seeds from anyone's house from here? where death has not occurred in your house? No? No one? No one?
There is not a single house or a person where death has not come.
Oh, I now realize that there is not a house untouched by death. Please guide me.
My child, so I'll be explaining this. My child, sufferings are everywhere. Somebody suffer because they are not doing well. Somebody is sick, they are suffering. Old age, they are suffering. You are suffering because you have lost a child and all that. Now you have got got the answer for this when you went around and asked people. You got the answer that you were ignorant that death is inevitable. So with all this learning from everywhere you got, and you end your suffering by gathering the knowledge how to cut that ignorance. So now I will take you to the path to end suffering, that path of called noble eightfold path or a middle path. Those are: first is right view. You must have or acquire the knowledge of the suffering, the cause of suffering, the end of suffering, and the path of suffering, path to the end of suffering. Right intention. Right intention means right thought. You must be able to differentiate the right thought and the wrong thought, the right intention or wrong intention. Right speech. Don't lie, always try to speak the truth. Right conduct, never hurt anybody, or your action should not harm anybody. A right livelihood, do not earn by cheating or at the cost of others' happiness. Right effort, work for the goodwill of the people, for the people. Right mindfulness, always keep a check on your thought, words, and action, because today every 15 minutes the thoughts change, because you see the WhatsApp and the thought keeps on changing and action keeps on changing. So this is very important, that to keep your check, always check your thoughts, words, and action. Right concentration means a meditation. Basically, do one thing at a time with full concentration. By following all this eightfold path, this will lead to nirvanas.
So I think it's very important for all of us to follow the eightfold path to just evolve in our life and try to attain our goals. And one more thing Buddha tried to help us with, he tried to give us the triple jewel, in which he says that the Buddha or the Guru in any form is always going to be our guide. The Dhamma, which we also known as the path of Dharma, can always lead us to the right goals. And the Sangha is the type of association and the companions and teachers that we follow in our life, which, or rather, whatever satsang that we are all into right now, will always lead us to our goals and help us in our lives. And can we all just take 2 minutes and do the Gayatri Mantra so that we all can get some positive vibes right now? Om Bhur Tatsya Viturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur. Are you okay?
The group 3, myself, Akila, Manjula, and Sudhir, I think is not there today. I'm quite loud, so yeah, okay. So we have group 3, or the topic is Adi Shankaracharya. So I'm Akila, and she's Manjula, and Sudhir is not there today. So I think we have compiled it about the personality. We didn't make any skit or anything. So she'll start with the brief overview, and then I'll take on how it is philosophical and other aspects of Adi Shankaracharya. And
Adi Shankaracharya ji was the Adi Shankaracharya ji was the philosopher and religious leader in Indian history and Hindu Sanatan Dharma. He was a religious reformer. The formulator and codifier of the Advaita Vedanta philosophy, the non-dualistic system based upon the Upanishad. He was a yogi, jnani and bhakta who lead the path of karma yoga. His contribution and enormous for India. Early life. Shankara was born in a very poor Brahmin family in the year 788 AD, born to Aryarambha and Shivaguru in a small village at Kerala called Kaladi. The exact birth of Shankara is not known, and thus we are celebrating Tithi birthday. Right from childhood, he showed a strong interest in spiritual knowledge, and he could easily recite the Vedas and the Puranas.
Okay, so 1 minute. So go back to the previous slide. So 2 clarifications here. One is that the place where he was born, generally people call it as Kaladi, but Kerala has a maternal tradition. The child is not born in the father's house. The child is born in the mother's house. So the place where Shivaguru stayed, that is Kaladi. Okay. But the mother's house is in Vedanta. And Vedanta, the place where he stayed, is where today the Chinmaya International Foundation is there. Your course material is coming from there. So that, and then the room where he was born, that room also is there. So Gurudev ensured that that entire place, the family was not able to maintain that place, and they were going to sell it. So the person who was there, the Nambudri who was handling that, Gurudev told our Chinmaya Mission members, do not bargain anything with him. What he wants, give that amount to him and give 1 rupee extra also. And ensure, because that place for us is most sacred. Shankaracharya is more. So we should start spreading that part. He was born in the place, in his maternal home called William. And second is, the birth year is not very sure.
505. Whether it is 505 or 788.
We don't still know.
Yeah, no. There are places where it is written 505 AD. And some 52 years before Buddha was born.
Before Buddha also there was a very strong argument.
Or after, 52 years after.
Before or after Buddha, and in common era also when. 788 is roughly people have said they have their reasoning for it, but Shankara Mata don't accept 788.
It was too much to put in, so we just removed those aspects.
The AD part, so the year part is in a doubt. But the date is clear. So birthday of Shankaracharya is clear. Because the Nakshatra birthday is the birthday. The Tithi birthday, that's the day we celebrate. That is the birthday. The year is only not clear.
Okay. Up the change now. It's like okay. So philosophical and literary contribution. Shankara's teachings reach out the truth of the Supreme Brahman to the sincere seeker. Some of his famous contributions to our scriptures are Viveka Chudamani, Atma Bodha, Aparokshanubhuti, Ananda Lahari, Atma Anantma Viveka, Drik Drishya Viveka, and Upadesha Sahasri. One of his masterpieces is the Brahma Sutra Bhashya. So here the Bhashya is the commentary of the Brahma Sutra, which is the fundamental text of the Vedanta school. It is probable that Shankara is also the author of the Yoga Sutra Bhashya Vivarana, which means the exposition of Vyasa's commentary on the Yoga Sutra, a fundamental text of the Yoga school. So this is again continuation of the philosophical and literary contribution. Shankara's Brahman was Nirvishesha, which is without any attributes, Nirguna, without any gunas, and Nirakara, formless, and Akarta, which is non-agent. So as per Shankara, moksha could be attained solely through the concentration of the mind and not by any other yogic practice. Shankara tried to unite the different groups of the Hindus fighting over the gods of Vishnu, Shiva, Ganesha, Surya and Shakti, and Shankara made legendary slokas for each group and brought all these groups into the common fold. This helped to unify the sects and their rituals of Hinduism. Now, what are his attributes to philosophy? These are his literary contributions, what we heard so far. Now, his attributes to philosophy. So, Shankara has been one of the great magnitudes of philosophical and theological history of Indian Vedic literature. So, it is usually said for learning logic and metaphysics, go to Shankara's commentaries. For gaining practical knowledge which unfolds and strengthens devotion, go to his works such as the Viveka Chudamani, Atma Bodha, etc., which we discussed. So Shankara wrote innumerable original works in verses which are matchless in sweetness, melody, and thought. He follows a very rigorous monoism. So what is monoism or rigorous non-dualism? That is, no qualities or attributes for Brahma or Brahman. The word Advaita essentially refers to the identity of the self, which is Atman, and the whole, which is the Brahman. So he wrote Ekameva Advitiyam Brahma. The absolute is one and not two. Further, Shankara says the Atman is self-evident. So this is his own, in his own words, so it's within quotes, which says this Atman or self is not established by proofs of the existence of the self. It is not possible to deny this Atman, for it is the very essence of he who denies it. So the Atman is the basis of all kinds of knowledge. The self is within, the self is without, the self is before, the self is behind. The self is on the right hand, the self is on the left. The self is above and the self is below. So Shankara was the exponent of the Kevala Advaitavi philosophy. His teachings can be summed up in the following words. Brahma Satyam Jagat Nityam, which we have all heard is saying, which is Jiva Brahma, Jivo Brahmana Aparaha. That is, the Brahman alone is real, the world is unreal, the Jiva is identical with the Brahma. I think we are all here to learn this aspect of what Shankaracharya has expounded. So Shankara preached Vivartavada. So just as the snake is superimposed on the rope, this world and this body are superimposed on the Brahman or the Supreme Self. If you get the knowledge of the rope, the illusion of the snake will vanish. So even so, if you get the knowledge of the Brahman, the illusion of the body and the world will disappear or will vanish. So these are his philosophical aspects we just went through. And now it is the influence on Sanatana Dharma, so our Hindu culture. So Adi Shankaracharya is one of the greatest stalwarts in the Hindu Sanatana Dharma. He had the enormous capacity to influence and organize the people and the institution. That's why today we have so many institutions from where we can learn about Sanatana Dharma. He has contributed immensely to the revival and purgation of the Hindu tradition. So he was a unifying force to bring all Hindus under one code of worship. He has an unparalleled status in the tradition of Advaita Vedanta. He traveled all over India to help restore the study of Vedas. He introduced the Panchayatana form of worship, that is the simultaneous worship of 5 deities, which is again the Ganesha, Surya, Vishnu, Shiva and Devi. Shankara explained that all deities were but different forms of the Brahman, the invisible, the supreme being. Shankara is regarded as the founder of the Dasanami Sampradaya of Hindu monasticism and Sanmata of Samrata tradition, Smarta tradition. He unified the theistic sects into a common framework of Shanmata system. So my colleague is not here to read about the rest of the things. Six. So the conclusions, in short, what we understand is Shankara embraced sannyasa when he was 8 years old. By age 16, he had not only mastered but also written commentaries on the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and other prominent Vedic texts. These commentaries, known as Bhashyas, that is, the commentaries, stand at the pinnacle of the Indian philosophical writing. He dispelled the false notion of philosophy, religion, logic, and spirituality that people had begun to believe, and enlightened the nation with his insightful analysis and logic, like how the earlier presenter on Buddhism mentioned. At that time, a lot of casteism and a lot of wrong religious practices were there, which he helped to dispel. Shankara founded mutts in the four corners of India to extend the wisdom of the Vedas. He paved the way for solid edifice of Indian culture by his scientific and rational exposition of Upanishad philosophy. He propounded the timeless truth of Vedanta so that everyone would understand and live. Indian philosophy has come to be identified with the Vedanta that Adi Shankaracharya commented. He is the embodiment of the great Rishi culture prevalent in India. Adi Shankaracharya's message is a message of hope, truth, and love. Through his life, Shankara presented an example before us to live by the truth. The last slide. So even though Shankara lived a very short life and renounced his body at 32 years, his impact on India and on Hindu Sanatana Dharma is extremely striking. He reintroduced a finer form of Vedic thought. So it's almost like he brought these texts to the common man. Shankara's scholarly erudition and his masterly way of exposition of intricate philosophical problems have won the admiration of all the philosophical schools of the world. It's also said that in his time, he, as he traveled across India with various sects, he could have a debate and varta vivada. In that format, he could win over many aspects of religious beliefs or thoughts people had, and he could bring them into this common fold. That's how he could unify the whole philosophy as one Sanatana Dharma. Shankara was an intellectual genius, a profound philosopher, an able propagandist, a matchless preacher, a gifted poet, and a great religious reformer. Perhaps never in the history of any literature a stupendous writer like him has been found. So this is across the globe. So there is not one branch of knowledge which Shankara has left unexplored and which has not received the touch, polish, and finish of his superhuman intellect. The loftiness, calmness, and firmness of his mind, the impartiality with which he deals with various questions, his clearness of expression, all these make us revere the philosopher more and more. We may say that his teachings will continue to live as long as the sun shines. So, and we are all blessed that our Guru Chinmayananda is a true disciple from this cult, and we are all able to learn this from now sswatmananda ji, and hope we all benefit from this and realize the self.
He was also very emphatic about insisting on moral values and tolerance towards other religions. So he never, preached about one religion being superior to the other, but it was about acceptance of all the religions. And he also relied on the principles of God realization, and this is through detachment. So again, you can see, traces of other beliefs which is sort of coming into his teaching, and which the Buddhist teachings and some part of Islam is also something which has strongly influenced his thinking at that point of time. In terms of his practices, what he has sort of advocated, he's really talked about two types of yoga. One is Mano Yoga and the other is Karma Yoga. Mano Yoga is, mind-based practices. It is about meditation, japa, and it is and it is also supposed to be the more the one which requires more effort to sort of follow. The other is Karma Yoga, where he talks about selfless service. So when he says selfless service, it is about, which is where he emphasizes about being close with other human beings, addressing their sufferings, and that was one of the reasons for also subsequently establishing the Ramakrishna mission. So his focus on Karma Yoga was about selfless service. And personally, he himself, has subjected himself to a lot of sadhanas and hardships. But because of that sadhanas and hardships, it is said that he's got, magnificent visions of various forms, including Rama, Sita, Ramakrishna. It is also said that he's had visions of Jesus. It's also said that he's actually also experienced, the Prophet during the time of his sadhanas. And he's repeatedly, and it is said that his first experience of such oneness was when he was around the age of 6, when he went into a trance, seeing, white flamingos flying against the dark clouds. And it was said that he got so mesmerized by that sight that he was in a trance for more than, half a day after seeing that. And initially it was felt that, it was actually an epileptic attack. But later on, Paramahansa had actually sort of, managed to explain that what's the type of experience which he goes through in those trance. In terms of his contribution, the Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, which is in Bengal, which is Bengali, which is actually quoted by his disciples because he himself has never written that. And it is said that that this was subsequently translated as the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and it is said that this Gospel sort of presents the essence of almost our 3,000 years tradition, which includes our Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, epics, the commentaries on Brahma Sutra, and the Vaishnava sect, which is also very prevalent in that region of the country. So it says that it is sort of got all of this together in a very, very simple and easy to understand form. So that is one of his greatest contribution. And he's also, at that point of time, who said that as many religions, as many paths for liberation. So he never differentiated between what religion one follows towards liberation. But it's also said that, he said that you need to understand that it is true, but it is not the truth. So if you have that understanding, most of our misconceptions will sort of unravel themselves. He also had the ability to teach how to uncover the truth in all the religions, and by connecting with the masses. So it was not a sort of a approach where study of philosophy was only limited to certain people or certain people with certain literacy or intellectual capability. He was able to reach out to the masses. And he was also born in Bengal, where Bengal was going through a whole crisis. There were new religions coming in, and even within the Hindu belief itself, there were various other practices which was coming in. So he came in at an important time to sort of spread the word of love amongst in that region of the country. And he's also talked. We were also going through the importance of science and rationality. So one of the first bases in this country for the British rule was from Bengal. So there was an age when there was a lot of things which was talked about religion. Our culture was being put down in the name of science and rationality. But Paramahansa managed to balance both and also preach the value of love amongst his followers, and all this within a short period of time. So that is his contribution. And what made him so popular and and even revered even today is that all his spiritual discourses or whenever he talked to his disciples was all through metaphors and similes and stories, which was easy for people to sort of connect to. So for example, the snow and he used to use the metaphor of snow and water. So it's the same form of two, and how because of that, whether it is Saguna Brahman or Nirguna Brahman, it is finally the same. So some such simple metaphors which people could remember is what he is known for. And also he's because of his ability to go into deep trances, he could assume, all forms and emotions of the divine, ranging from extremely, the Kali Roop to an extremely loving Radha Krishna Roop. He could sort of, go into all forms of divine, and at the same time also connect with the common man. So that was also one of the reasons for what made him so popular. He was never greedy for anything, and he was certainly the embodiment of purity, charity, and holiness. And in terms of what some of the other people who have told about him, so for example, Mahatma Gandhi has said his life is the story of a master of a religion. Sri Aurobindo ji has mentioned that his spiritual ability is par excellence, and it's probably not easy to achieve that the way he has done. And one of our past presidents, Radhakrishnan, has said that he's an apt representative of an Indian culture and our belief in mysticism. So these are some of the things which other people have talked about Paramahansa. Madam, I sort of did the entire talking. I think at least
And the first time I'm standing before so many people and then saying certain things. That too, I have come unprepared because I thought my leader is going to take over everything. But after coming here, everybody says, everybody with the papers and all. I was shocked, really. Luckily, I had got something which I tried to listen to him. I will just read it. There are some quotes by the great leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and others, certain things which have impressed me. I am also new to these classes, to be frank. I had never attended. I first attended Gita classes by Swamiji, and then without knowing anything about a religion, philosophy, or anything, I had lived all my life. I'm 78 years. And I just believe only being a good human being. That is what the philosophy I have been following in my life. I have no religion or anything. Then I thought one day, without knowing anything about this, why I have prejudice? Let me understand what is the Bhagavad Gita and all. That is how my introduction to these things has started. And I got certain knowledge by attending the Gita class. So then I wanted to attend this Vedanta class, and when I got the things, I have joined it. I feel I'm very blessed. And so there will be, don't expect anything much, and he has covered everything like that. So, but still, whatever I read, I just try to read it here. See, Gandhiji has told, it seems, the life of Ramakrishna enables us to see God face to God, the God face to face. Gandhiji wrote. Similarly, someone in his circle was distraught. The Mahatma Gandhi sent him to spend time with the ashram. That is great. Gandhiji himself is a great man and philosopher and all. He had respected, he had done like this. And this Paramahamsa and the Maharishi also have been among the greatest spiritual figures of our country. They have transformed the lives of and have been a solace to millions. You know, Mr. Narendra has been transformed as Vivekananda by Ramakrishna, who has spread about the Hinduism all around the world, that we all know. Because Ramakrishna doesn't know any other language other than Bengal, it seems. Even Hindi he doesn't know. He is the one, Vivekananda has brought the Hinduism that popular to the other people around the world, it seems. Ramakrishna, by his manifest holiness, by his manifest simplicity, by his magnetism, by his spiritual attainments, turned all this upside down. He made idol worship and other practices of our religion respectable, he said. He awakened Indians to the fact that it is their religion that had gleaned the great truth, that it was in no way inferior to other religions. Islam, Christianity, that had come to be associated with conquerors. He pulled adherents to different different sects out of their prejudices against one another, and far from fulfilling the conquest that the missionaries had set their hearts on, Jakayahab Chandrasen became an ardent devotee of his because of Sri Ramakrishna. As his biographer Swami Nikhilananda notes, Tantra was purified, and because sadhus from all over the country and from all sects flocked to him, and his insights came to illumine and pull back on the right course several strands of our religion. Chetananda tells us that according to Ramakrishna, all religions are equally valid. He found a place for each one in his own life. He first realized God by following Hindu practices, and then by following the Christian and Muslim paths. Such a journey is unique in the religious history of the world. And what is of the world. He afterwards proclaimed, as many faiths, so many paths, thus establishing an ideal harmony of religions for our present age, in which religions are in conflict and hatred and violence are rampant. He taught a religion so badly needed today, a religion that is constructive and not destructive, scientific and not fanatical, political and not theoretical, rational and not superstitious. The universal and parochial. Truly, Sri Ramakrishna worked to create unity in our time, especially when all these religions come up in that. There are only one thing, the last I was saying, there are many doors to God's house. Ramakrishna explained the main gate, the back door, even the utility entrance. No matter which door you enter through, you get to the house. He was convinced on the basis of his own experience that all religions lead to the same divine state. Each route is unique, but the destination is identical. I am not asking you to give up your love for God, only your dogmatic ideas. Ramakrishna insisted, when a young woman moves into her husband's home, she honors all her in-laws, but she sleeps only with her husband. The divine being is seen in many different ways in different cultures. Worship your God, but honor the forms in which he appears to others as well. Don't condemn other paths to God. If other people follow the path with full sincerity, they will definitely reach God. Go on calling to God in the way you understand him, but don't criticize our faith, others' faiths. All religions are true. There are many doors to God's house, Ramakrishna explained. The main gate, the back door, even the utility entrance. That's what his work. He tries to bring the unity among all the religions which are there. And also in a very simple way, simple language, he tries to tell to the common man to understand. And also he tries to bring the unity among the religions. That is his greatness, I feel. Thank you.
Thank you. So 4 groups have done today, and we have exceeded the time quite a lot. We will continue in our next class. The 3 balance groups which are there, they can do in the next class. In the beginning, they will complete, and then we take up the next chapter. So this will complete lesson 6. So those who want to do the test, now you are welcome to do the test. The presentations, the test doesn't depend on that, the presentation part. The content part we have completed, so you can take up that test. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om.